Around 40% of Jesus's parables deal with money. The Bible has a ton to say about money, how to save it, how to manage it, even how to invest it. Now, I did part 1 of this video a couple weeks ago and you guys made it the fastest liked video I've ever had. So thank you for that. And this is gonna be part 2 where I'm gonna talk about how to save money, how to actually manage your money, and then some really cool advice how to invest that money. So make sure you stick around till the end. Depend on no one. So this idea of simple living and taking care of yourself and your family is in a few different places, but we're gonna look at one in particular, and that is 1 Thessalonians 4:11 through 12. And honestly, this is just great advice. And to aspire to live quietly and to mind your own affairs and to work with your hands as we instructed you, so that you may walk properly before others and depend on no one. So in this verse, we got a couple of my favorite things. To live quietly, that is one of my goals in life, is to have a simple life, to not want a bunch of things, which we'll talk about in a second, and then also not to have to rely on other people. Like I talked about in the last video, the borrower is a slave to the lender. So that's why I think this idea of not relying on anybody and being self-sufficient and actually preparing for the future financially is so important. Like personally, if I want less things, if I spend less money, then I have to earn less, which means I get to work less, which means I get to spend more time with my daughter and with my wife and doing the things that I want to do. And that comes from living simply. And that kind of goes along with the next point, which is being content. In Philippians, he says, "Not that I speak from want, for I have learned to be content in whatever circumstances I am. I know how to get along with humble means, and I know how to live in prosperity." I think that contentment is the answer to so many problems. This is why I practice no spend months. Generally, January or February, we will not spend any money. We'll have a 30-day spending fast. But this helps you realize you need so little stuff in order to be happy. You don't need to go to Starbucks, you don't need to buy new clothes, you don't need to just Amazon stuff to your door that you don't even remember what you bought by the time it gets there. That stuff doesn't make you happy. And when you practice things like spending fast, it helps you focus on the things that are truly important. Which leads me into my next point, which is that saving is not wrong. I think this is interesting because people tend to take things to extreme. They'll either say you should sell all your possessions and give to the poor, but it also has verses about saving money. In Proverbs, it talks about looking at the example of an ant, that it works hard without having to be told what to do. It says she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food for harvest. It talks about if you are lazy, poverty will come on you like a robber. And if being poor was something you would strive to, it wouldn't talk about preparing. So saving money is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to be prepared. In fact, it's really important. In Corinthians, it talks about having a 20% savings rate, where on the first day of every week, you should save that money so that you can prosper. If you don't have an emergency fund or a retirement account, then you're doing yourself a disfavor. Then you will not prosper. Then you can't give money to your kids' kids. So that's why I recommend things like SoFi. They have a high interest savings account that's like 4.5%. So as you're saving money, that money can be making more money without even having to worry about investing it. Or if you are going to invest it, then there are some ways to do that, which we'll talk about later on in this video. But you don't have to be poor and you don't have to be rich, but saving money is not wrong. That being said, you do have to kind of hate money, or at least not love it. Matthew 6:24 says, "No one can serve two masters. You will either hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and be enslaved to money." So yes, you shouldn't love money. It shouldn't be the most important thing in your life. It shouldn't be what you sacrifice your kids' soccer games to. It shouldn't be what keeps you from being involved in your church or whatever you want to be involved in. But for most people, money does actually do that to them, because we spend the best part of our days for the best years of our lives working for money, and then we use excuses of, oh, I don't want to love money, so I'm not going to worry about managing it correctly. You don't have to love it, but you should respect it. You should take care of it. You should know where all your money is going, because that is your life energy. And having good finances, having good investments can actually take back some of your life so that you can help more people, you can have more financial freedom yourself, and you can spend more quality time on the things that are important to you. By the way, I'm gonna be giving away $1,000 to somebody who subscribes before we hit 500,000 subscribers. So if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe. Let's get back to it. Avoid MLMs. So it doesn't exactly mention MLMs specifically, but Proverbs says, "Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow." I personally got roped into an MLM when I was like in my late teens. You get brought into it by a friend because he knows a guy who is making crazy money off of it, and that guy knows another guy who's making a lot of money off it. It's never your friend directly. And the same thing was true with so many different schemes out there. There's all these get rich quick schemes. There was the crypto stuff, then there was the NFT stuff.
I'm not advising you to go out and find some get-rich-quick scheme, which this is not. It's a legitimate business, okay?
Now that being said, there is nothing wrong with getting rich quickly. In fact, that's kind of my idea on how I'm trying to build my finances. But it's in a little bit of a different way, where maybe you build a company for 5 or 10 years and then you sell that company, and then you have one event where you get rich quick, but it's because of 5 or 10 years of hard work. It's not you create something or learn something and then 3 months later you're making $1 million a month. It's putting in hard work for a long period of time, little by little, and being diligent and letting that hard work pay off. I believe that if you're gonna put hard work into something, you should have some upside, not just your employer. So that's why I love having my own business, investing in real estate, things that I can control and I know that I could work extremely hard on and be paid for my efforts. The next one's a little bit quick, and that is to not co-sign. This is in 2 different places. Proverbs 11:15, whoever puts up security for a stranger will surely suffer harm. Also, one who lacks sense gives up a pledge and puts up security in the presence of his neighbor. Both of these are pretty much saying, don't co-sign for stuff. Don't lend your friends and family money. If you want to give them money, but don't ruin relationships over it. Don't wait. A lot of us wait to start investing because we don't have money to invest. A lot of us wait to start saving until we have more money to save. The hardest and most common is waiting to start giving until you have a surplus. But the Bible says, he who is faithful in very little is also faithful in much. And one who is dishonest in very little is also dishonest in much. This is why I think it is important to set up good habits as soon as possible. It was so tempting for me when I first got married to not tithe or give money. But looking back, I'm really grateful that I did do that. And as I got into that habit of not being so attached to my money and realizing that even the poorest people in the US are wealthier than like so many other people in the world, it's an amazing habit to start. And when you can build good financial habits early on when you don't have much money, when you do have money, you'll be able to hang on to it. You won't be like those NBA players who didn't know how to handle money when they didn't have any, and then they got millions of dollars and within a couple of years, it's gone. But if you don't know how to handle your money when you don't have much, it doesn't matter how much more you get, you still won't be able to handle it. Give to charity. This one I think we all know is mentioned a lot of times in the Bible. For instance, he who gives to the poor will not want, but he who shuts his eyes will have many curses. A little bit later in Proverbs, he says, he who is generous will be blessed. And if you have ever given something away with no expectation of getting anything back, it is one of the best feelings you can get. But when you do it for recognition, it's not the same. That's not why we should be giving money away. Your left hand shouldn't know what your right hand is doing. I personally tithe at least 10%, but whatever is right for you, it will completely change your mindset about money when you are constantly looking at those who have less than you, who need help, and practicing that will actually change your relationship with money. So let's talk about managing your investments. Know well the condition of your flocks and give attention to your herds, for riches do not last forever. Back in the day when this was written, your flocks and your herds would be your wealth. It would be your stocks, your crypto, your real estate, whatever you invest in now. And it doesn't say to not worry about it, to just let your flocks go to whoever. It says to pay attention to where your investments are so that you're not going to be broke. And practically speaking, this is setting up an emergency fund, creating a budget, investing simply. If you want to invest in the stock market, I'd recommend a book called The Simple Path to Wealth. It talks about really the simplest way to start investing, which is like invest in the S&P 500 and low-cost index funds, and you're probably gonna outperform everybody who's picking their own stocks. I personally just invest in Webull. There's a link down below. You get up to 12 free stocks, and then I just put everything in the S&P 500. That and real estate, because those are the things that I know. But pay attention to your investments, because you got that money by trading your life for it. So it is actually very important. But that leads to the next point, which is to actually seek wise counsel. Plans fail for a lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. For me, I learned everything I know about finances from other people who were, some of them were financial advisors, but a lot of them were just people who had really studied. I've read close to like 100 books on different topics of money. I've listened to thousands of podcasts and YouTube videos and all this stuff about money, as opposed to just thinking I know it all, trying to pick some random stocks, probably losing it. Instead, find people who you want to be in their shoes and listen to their advice. And if you want more advice like this, then don't forget to subscribe. If we get to 10,000 likes on this video, I will make a life lessons from the Bible. If you guys want to hear that, there was a ton of really good ones that I ran into that didn't really fit with the money lessons. So drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.